Good afternoon, Ghana, and we have, developments from the courts as the woman in question, Agradaa, was, processed to court by the police, and today our correspondent was there, Elvis Ando, and he has come through with a few reports there. So you saw the drama that unfolded outside the premises of the court. Let's see how the discussion will go. That's where our focus will be this afternoon. Have we left the religious space too flexible for anybody and everybody to, use it in and abuse people, or people who are really some innocent people probably are onlookers? Should we even call them innocent? Sometimes you really wonder what goes on in the minds of people in some of these churches that we see in and around us. We'll be discussing that. If persons who call themselves religious leaders are using the opportunity to abuse and defraud people, and sometimes you might think that fraud is just about, telling someone that I'll use this money for you and for something for one person, and you fail to do it, and yet you don't pay back the money, and that is the only thing that can be described as fraud. Fraud can also be described when you, use mental, capturing to confuse people and make them feel that when they give you money, then that is what is going to inform their lives and prosperity for that matter. So we'll be going into these issues. I have guests who are going to be joining me in the studio for this discussion. We'll have Adib Sani, who is a security analyst. We'll have Yaobuedu Ayeboafo also to join us. He is actually the National Media Commission chairperson. Also, Reverend Lawrence Tete, founder and leader of World Miracle Outreach, will join us. And we have Theophilus Donko, who is a private legal practitioner, to also understand. We have some videos also that, were trending. Some Metro TV reporters also went to the church, recorded members who were victims to the act, whether or not they have been defrauded. The matter is still in court, so we're careful how we put it. But it's still opened for discussion. We'll stay or we'll play it safe. My name is Ania Frompofo. Let's take a breather. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back to Good Afternoon, Ghana. So we're still on the trending issue of, what's her real name, madam? So the person you're hearing the voice is Elvis Ando, who is our court correspondent. He's been in court today and served that with some dramatic report from Patricia. Say, do what? Odru.
Yes.
Patricia.
Oh, but let me be quick to say that it is Reverend Dr.
Oh, please.
Patricia. No, she said that in court.
So
I have to add it to it.
Those are her titles.
Yes.
How did she earn the? Oh. Maybe the reverend, I can give it to her, because I saw some pastors who were ordaining her. But the doctor, where did she get it from?
Yes, but she's been given that doctorate, let me say, title because by God.
Okay, but if she's been given an honorary doctorate title, we don't use it on her, or she doesn't know that when you're given an honorary doctorate, you're not. It's not used.
Well, maybe she doesn't know, but So
I'm doing the right thing.
She wants to be addressed.
No,
as
I
such.
cannot address her as doctor.
No, I think I'll be unfair.
I'm not being unfair. Obviously, Elvis has been converted.
Oh yes. You're very. I'll attend the church very soon. I want to be the treasurer.
Tell me what happened in court today.
Okay, so today in court, with every first appearance, the argument is on to grant or not to grant a bill. And that was fiercely fought today. This is my first time seeing the prosecutor actually standing on his feet and saying that, no, don't grant this woman a bill application as being pleaded for by her counsel or her lawyer. And so counsel Amweni stood on his feet and indicated to the court that his client is not a flight risk. The client has a permanent place of abode, is a public figure, and also a minister of God. And so the court should look at all these, goodies that the accused person is having, and agree
No, you
to
mean
the
they
fact
should look at her personality.
her personality, yeah, and then and then the court grants at least some kind of sympathy so that his client, would be able to go away from the police custody and enjoy at least some comfort in her home and assist in prosecution thereafter. But prosecution was on the objection that the accused person, Nana Agradaa, was about to leave the country when she was arrested.
She was about to leave the country?
Yes, after taking the money and perhaps doubling it for the people that are said to have received the grace, because it was a Kofi and Amma thing. And so the highest bidder gets the money.
So there are people who have actually texted me asking that the accusations that we're throwing at her should be captured in the proper perspective, in the sense that she didn't say that she's doubling money for them. She said she was going to donate monies for persons who are in need. What's really the truth?
No,
about,
but from
with the advert she put out, what was it? Okay, we have the video, play later, but what did you pick up?
But what we picked out in court was that she's being accused for, let me put it that the accusation are 7. But then when you narrow it down, the first one has to do with chalantic advertisement in newspaper and on today's TV.
Okay.
And then the second one has to do with defrauding by false pretense. So they tailored it down to the various persons who have reported or come to the police to say, yes, this woman took this amount of money from us and said she would double it for us. And in the process, decided to run away and even took our coin, our last bit of coin. That is 5 peswa. Took everything from them. And with the notion that she is going to double it for her because for them because it is her birthday on 5th October. So this is why people left their various homes and
her
offices
birthday
to
fell
that
on the 5th of
5th
October.
of October. Yes.
Okay.
So this is why they left that place, their various homes. From some came as far as Takrady, from Takrady to Accra.
Some actually came from the north.
Exactly. So if you have said this on live TV, you've said this to the people, they would believe you automatically. And when they believe you, they will come to you. So now the case is in court. And court would now decide on whether or not she is guilty or not guilty, to which she has pleaded she is not guilty. So now we have to get the evidence. And that is why prosecution is saying that they are still conducting investigations. If they are conducting investigations, they are expecting that people who have been told that same story would come to the police station, that is the Accra Regional Police Command, and
to
report
give account
and give as to how the money was given to her, whether at the church premises, because prior to her arrest, she had locked all the places, and the police say they don't. She wasn't having a permanent place of abode. And they used technology, that is her phone, to track where she was located before they got her. And as at the time they got her, she was in an attempt of going out of the country.
So why are they not able to use the same technology to track this father of the baby that's abusing his child?
Annie, you and I were
Okay,
not there. That's another thing.
It's interesting that they've been able to do it, because I thought that they could, in terms of that abuse video, they could use,
the same technology that they use.
Technology to locate
so
the father.
let's just say that the police is becoming up and doing with their way of doing their investigation. Maybe the first one, we can say we will pardon them because maybe they quote unquote, maybe they don't know how to use the apparatus to track that system, and now they've been able to get acquainted with that apparatus, and now they can be able to track on using your phone to track your location.
It's a technology that's been in existence for God knows how long. So
we are now implementing.
Okay.
I think it's
how
out
about
of
her own demeanor? Because I mean, in the video that you served us with, where she's sort of singing.
Oh yeah, okay.
Gospel and her church members.
So Agradaa was looking.
Or maybe they were her armor bearers.
Oh, these are the instrumentalists and backing vocalists in the church. I would say her demeanor in court was a normal one. She was not worried that she would be remanded or anything.
She didn't appear
She didn't
remorseful.
appear. No. She was the same Agradaa we know, and she was in court. One funny thing that happened in court was that the Judge Bright Samuel Aqua asked, the lens, what you are wearing, the spectacles you are wearing, is it medicated or not? To which she said it's medicated, but from the look of things, I also do wear lens, but from the look of what I saw, this one
You don't think it's medicated?
No.
Yeah, but you cannot tell, because sometimes
And medicated lenses have they come with a Blu-ray light in there, and also you could see the photochromic nature of it. And if you observe, if you observe very well, you would see that it has.
I have a medicated, lens as well.
But yours is not photochromic.
It is.
It is.
It is.
Okay.
But it's not all medicated glasses that are photochromic. Don't get it wrong.
But Annie,
it's not all.
If you should look at a medicated lens, you would know that this is a very a medicated lens. The lens itself will not be light. This
no,
looks like
I won't give that to you.
Gucci.
You cannot look.
It's a Gucci one.
I see where you're trying to go to. You cannot look at it from just what you see and then conclude.
You just look at the lens.
The Gucci is
just look at the lens.
Hold on, the Gucci is a frame. The frame, you can buy frame, whatever frame you like,
sure.
you use it. Maybe that's what she's done.
Oh no, Annie, don't try.
No, you're not being fair to her in terms of what she's wearing. But let me put. I won't allow you to go. She just said it's medicated. It's easy to check anyway. So the charges, you said there were how many? 7.
7 charges.
And then you gave me.
I gave you 2, but under the second charge, which is defrauding by false pretense, they've tailored it down to the various people who came to report. So I can run you through these charges quickly, and then we will take it from there. Then let me quickly first start with the Chantalantic advertisement. That has to do with the fact that she was on TV and she appeared to be giving details of how she would double the money for the people. And she made it so obvious that they believed that, yes, she could do it. And I don't know which part of the Bible says you can double money for people. And then defrauding, the second one
I just plead with producers to stand by that advert so that we can all have a fair judgment.
Then defrauding by false pretense, and then let me bring it down to the first one, obtaining consent of Ya Brema to advertise on part of a sum of 350,000 Ghana cedis, and then also same for Emmanuel Kumi, 760 Ghana cedis, and then same for George Boatin, 540 Ghana cedis, and then also Grace Forson, 300 Ghana cedis.
Okay.
Then Mary Arthur, 330 Ghana cedis, and finally Patricia Ankama, 500 Ghana cedis. So these are the people who have gone to the police station to actually confirm and identify her as the one they paid the money to.
In court, was there any question that sought to find out where all that money is?
Well, we didn't argue, we didn't go into that detail because now the attention is on getting her out of police custody.
Okay.
So that was the main argument today.
Okay.
You see.
Okay. We have managed to actually, grab in our studio Reverend Dr. Lawrence Tete. And this one I can call him Doctor.
Yes.
Because he actually learned for it.
He's my friend. He's my pastor too. I admire him a lot. But not the other doctor, no.
Okay. So Dr. Lawrence Tete is actually the founder and leader of World Miracle Outreach. And of course, he has been at the forefront when we have to do anything with the people of Hungary as a country. You know, he has really led because he has been in that country for some, part of his age. So he leads the country in a lot of those activities. But Reverend, thank you so much that we've grabbed you from your busy schedule. I know you do a lot of rounds during the day, but thank you for coming. So I'm sure you got a hint of this issue. You've watched some of the videos. I don't know what you thought of when you saw it.
I think that we have propagated a lot of people in Ghana and have attributed them to be Christians when they are not. We all know the background of Agradaa, that not long ago, in less than a year or so ago, she was a fetish priest. First priestess. And then she said she's converted. And then all of a sudden she started a church. And so you don't need to be a rocket scientist to know that something has not gone well. And really, if you're a priest, you go through certain trainings. And so she should have gone through certain training, become converted, become born again, go through some classes, serve under people before she gets into what she's got into. So for me, what we are seeing now is just same old thing that does.
Like what they used to call Sika Gari
Sika Gari.
at the time when she
Yes,
was a
Sika Gari.
priestess. It comes to, affect the Christian religion. And it makes, I actually yesterday saw a post on social media. I won't mention a person's name, but the person said, Agradaa has, proved her right for not even going to church. So she's not going to church. She just had some fufu in front of her. She was going to eat, and that was it.
I think that's a very unfortunate statement. I mean, the fact that you've had an accident doesn't mean that you not drive. And sometimes I'm happy I'm educated myself. A lot of intellectuals become very unwise when they make statements about religion. Christianity cannot be forced on the throat of anybody.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, the fact that there is one Agradaa who has not done things right doesn't mean that every Christian is bad. To begin with, do we have good lawyers? Do we have bad lawyers? Do we have good journalists? Do we have bad journalists? Do we have, and whether we like it or not, in this world we live in, you have the good, the bad, and the ugly. Right. So it will be very unfortunate if somebody can, I don't want you to use the word, but it's very little-mindedness to assume that because of one Agradaa somewhere that you've not met before, you are not going to church. I mean, it's not a good saying.
The caption that was put on the flyer, I'm sure you saw the flyer, what my producer captured was that are religious institutions using religion to dupe people? And that was the question.
I thought I thought that caption was also unfair. I don't think journalists don't dupe people, and I don't think lawyers don't dupe people, and even judges and politicians don't dupe people. I don't think police and armies don't dupe people. In every vocation, as I rightly said, you have at least some bad notes. So let's even put a Agradaa issue aside. The nation in which we live today, I must confess, it's not politicians that have saved Ghana. It's the religious bodies. The Christians, the Muslims, and the religious bodies are the ones that have really helped in the moral decadence that is being heralded in Ghana now. And so we must be commended. And so topics like that, I think whoever carved the title has not been fair. Has not been fair to us. I mean, tell me how many of the pastors you see today who are doing very well have people. We have Dr. Menson Tabe, we have Dr. Archbishop Dakeward Mills, we have Archbishop Duncan William, we have Archbishop Ajian Sari, and myself. We have Apostle General Kwanchiankra, we have Steve Mensah, we have Isaac Kwe. We have great men of God in this nation that are doing very good work for Ghana. And that is even the charismatic and the Pentecostal front. Look at the work that Church of Pentecost is doing. And so we contribute so much to this nation. I think it will be very unfair. And sometimes I keep saying that the journalists and the media should be very cautious as to how they handle religious matters.
Maybe I'll say the spin we put on it.
Most of you are Christians. Most of you, is your mothers and your fathers were Christians. That gave the door for you to be where you are today. And when you spin things like that, you become the devil's advocate, and it's not fair. It's not fair at all. I think that whichever of the young men or the young women put that theme there is very, very unfair, and I think it is not right. We are talking about Agradaa, that we all know her background. We all know who she is. And so if we use Agradaa to undermine the credibility of the church, it's most unfair.
But Doctor, looking at where Agradaa is coming from, we are seeing a lot of churches coming up. And the best thing they do, they don't do what you, quote unquote, the educated pastors or men of God do.
Let me correct you, not just the educated. You don't have to be educated to be a pastor. There are a lot of pastors in Ghana. Let me just stop you and just clarify.
Let me just join to his question. Mm-hmm. So there is another analysis someone did on social media and said that you have the likes of the Agradaa and her type of religious leadership. And then you have the likes of Reverend Dr. Lawrence Tete and his type of, religious leaders. The difference is that these two, there is one part that's been educated, there's another part that's not educated. And usually, the non or uneducated ones, we classify them in a certain way. But that doesn't mean that we don't have even educated ones who sort of hypnotize, if you may, also its church members. It happens even with educated pastors as well.
Rightly. In fact, I couldn't have agreed with you better. So that's what I'm saying. It's not just uneducated people who do that. I mean, when we come to journalism, there are some journalists that, quote unquote, we think they're on top of everything. But we hear things they do that are not right. We know lawyers that are very astute lawyers, but they do things that are not right. So what I'm saying is that just one bad note should not undermine the credibility of the hard-won reputation of everybody. Let us rather get a holistic approach to this thing. Let's find out where the source is and let's listen to the source. The problem we're having in Ghana today is that in the midst of media, or in the bid of media, or in our bid to propagate certain people's ministry, we are propagating the wrong ones. Example I'll give you today is that it is believed that every Ghanaian preacher is rich and is duping people. Every Ghanaian preacher is living flamboyantly, which is a very wrong perception. And I can tell you that from my point of view. Those of us who use Land Cruisers or SUVs in Accra or in Ghana, you can count us by your fingertips. The rest of the pastors, most of them who are doing very great work, go to Sunyani, go to Nsawam, go to Kofodia. Some of them, they even barely have something to eat, and yet still they are feeding people. And so it's not just so that everybody is doing very well. People have had a calling, and they are following the calling. And so we'll certainly have the types of Agradaa who will be doing such an unfortunate thing. And because the tag of Christianity has been put on everybody, they'll put them in that bracket. But I think that will be unfair.
And let me just issue this disclaimer. Because the matter is still in court, we're not in any way judging Agradaa here, because that would be even unprofessional on my part. We're just putting, as it is, those who have laid accusations against her, all the way from the days of she joined the Sika Gari days. And then now she says that she's been converted. The conversion...
But you'll be surprised to know that even as I sit here, I've never seen Agradaa before. Never.
As in...
In person, I've never seen her before.
No, I haven't seen her.
It's
You
not
have
somebody
now.
I have.
I've really followed
today.
Before today, because you remember the case.
I think he's speaking as a pastor.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But I was thinking she was part of the Christian Council.
No, so that is the ignorance of most of you. And let me explain that to you. The ignorance I'm saying is not an insult. I'm saying that people get a perception, but they don't understand. Agradaa could not have been part of Christian Council. Agradaa could not have been part of National Association of Christian Leaders. Agradaa could not have been part of Charismatic Council. Agradaa is certainly, and I can say this on authority, is not part of Pentecostal Council. She will be part of what we call an independent individual who have started his own ministry. Yeah. And don't forget that in the country we live in, by our constitution, we have freedom of worship, freedom of association, freedom of speech, freedom of religion. And so she decides to get into a corner there. I don't know even where her church is. And she starts a church. And by law, she's within the confinement of our constitution. So she's certainly not part of Christian Council. Unfortunately for us, Christian Council doesn't have control over what she does.
Okay. That's where I was coming to with the controlling of the churches that are coming up. I think I remember way back, some years ago, I've had interviews with you. Exactly. We've talked about church and controlling, churches springing up. Someone wrote on social media that he said 99% of churches needs to be closed in Ghana ASAP.
I think that is wrong. That is not right. In fact, rather, we need to encourage 99.9% of churches. If we look at what is happening now, look at the percentage of the so-called people we think or claim has created an embarrassing environment for the Christian church. Let's know. We can count them by our fingertips. We all know. I was very much against something that happened during the 31st time when the police instituted a statement that nobody
Fake-
should
fake
give
prophet.
Fake
fake
prophecies.
prophecies. And I saw that is not fair on the Christian leadership. You don't control prophecy. But we know the people over the years who make statements, and we can count them by our fingertips. So why don't we call those 2, 3, 4 prophets we know and tell them this time around, be mindful of what you say. And whether we like it or not, they still went ahead and prophesied anyway. So did the police solve the problem? No. Rather, we created a problem where most Christians who genuinely might have had a word from the Lord would have been scared because the police has given an order. So let's be very mindful.
But
Let us not.
is it not better to control the system?
Exactly.
I find it like it's a good control to institute that even if it's a genuine prophecy, you know that you are now operating within a system that is well controlled and that the least
You see,
sensitive
and
information
my brother,
can land
I
you
didn't
in
pick your
trouble.
name. Sorry about
Elvis.
that.
Elvis.
Okay, Elvis and Annie. We shouldn't throw the baby and the water away. In our bid to control certain people, we shouldn't keep the mouth of other people shut. You know, and when we talk about prophecy, Nathan, David, and many examples we have in the Bible give prophecy with decorum. There are prophecies that are for the nations, that is open. There are prophecies that are not secret prophecies, but there are prophecies that are very personal prophecy. If I have a prophecy for you, Elvis, I don't need to say it here. If I have a prophecy for Annie, I don't need to say it here. But if genuinely it is from God, there's a prophecy for the nation, it's supposed to be an open prophecy. So what I'm saying is that if in our bid to keep certain individuals who have been very unruly, and I've heard some of the prophets that are very weird, that I don't even see the Christian basis of the prophecy. If those are the ones we want to control, then let's call them individually and tell them, this time around, we are watching you. But if you give a blanket statement like that, people who genuinely would have been spoken by God will feel intimidated. And a nation that is not directed by God is doomed.
But doctor, let's look at it from an angle where these prophecies have been tested. Shatawale tested a prophecy of Nigel Gacy, where Nigel indicated that Shatawale would die this year. And so what
I don't think it
Shatawale...
was Nigel Gacy who gave that prophecy.
It was one
I
of
was
the
caught up
pastors.
in that thing. I mean,
And one of the things that he did was to fake his own death in order to test the law. And what the police did, as at last year, before the 31st night, was to prevent all these prophecies, because it's bad to issue death threats on people. And just as you've said, if you have a prophecy about me, you have to just move to me and tell me that, Elvis, because I know in the Bible, the prophets moved to the individuals to speak to them, that this is what God is saying, and I am telling you this. But in the case of Shatawale and other figures, and it's always like on big people, let me say people who are known, not celebrities, but people who are known.
As in
What?
personalities.
Personalities.
In the midst of all this, let us also give some credence to people who have stood for the truth and for the right thing. I prayed for Shatawale. Shatawale saw me, came to see me. We even traveled together. And I told Shatawale he was not going to have a problem. In fact, I felt, and that was the first time I heard Agradaa. She went on air and blasted me. I didn't know, I've not even found out that I shouldn't have allowed Ebony to die. So certainly saying Shatawale will not die will not make any difference. But we sit here today, Shatawale is alive. And so some of those things that I'm saying that we all have a collective responsibility. In order for us to keep all these things, we need what I call a massive united front. It is not a time to point fingers. And if we don't take care, in our bid to correct the wrong, we will be making certain people who are doing very well in the community lose the little respect and credit they needed.
Let me go onto the phone lines. Adib Sani is a security analyst. He's joined me via Zoom or phone. Okay, Adib Zani is via phone to speak to us on what has happened. Adib, thank you for your time. Good afternoon to you. This matter is obviously about human security, and I remember Brigadier General Nuno Mensah, speaking so much about human security for us to pay some attention to it. If you can, give me a bit of updates of how we are doing in that area, considering what the people do in terms of this fraudulent world?
Well, good afternoon. May I know who is on the other line?
So this is Annie, and then I
Yeah,
have
I mean,
Dr.
yeah.
Reverend Lawrence Tete with me. I also
Oh,
have my colleague Elvis Andor with me.
oh, okay. My father, a very special good afternoon to Dr. Lawrence Tete.
Right.
The last time was in another studio. All right, so um, I'm I'm tempted to agree with him to a very large extent. First of all, the issue of regulating the church and all that. I think we need to be careful so we don't create a problem in an attempt to solve a problem. What is going on has nothing to do with the church. It is just a few unscrupulous persons using the church to perpetrate their acts of criminality.
Right.
And it cuts across the religious divide. Even for Islam, some terrorists claiming to be Muslims stage attacks in the name of Islam. It doesn't mean we should close mosque just because the person attended that mosque. Okay, so we need to draw a very thick line between the church and criminality. Criminality is criminality, and the church is church, and the two can never marry. Okay, so and religious freedoms is very sacrosanct to us as a people. It's in the constitution, and we need to respect it, and we don't have to create an environment where Ghanaians would begin to roll their eyes and wonder whether indeed we are respecting their religious freedoms. Now, to the issue of human security, I heard a number of people talk about the fact that there's poverty, the rising cost of living, the economic situation. That's what is forcing people into getting ripped, off like the way the Agradaa did. Um, in as much as I agree that indeed the times are hard. I mean, when you sit in the taxis, when you sit in the trotters, when you go to the markets, I'm just coming from the market and you see a lot of people complaining. It doesn't warrant that you go give 2,000 cities expecting it to 10 to 4,000. That 2,000 could have been used to do business. And within a short time, you would be able to make some profit. But our penchant for quick money. We want quick money. You don't want to wait. You just want to put money somewhere. And I don't know whether they expect it to be photocopied. And, things don't work that way, So it's no excuse. Some people are very stubborn. Even Bank of Ghana would publish information about people supposed to refrain from doing business at some places, yet they will. Others are just plain ignorant. And by ignorance, I don't mean illiterate, because I know PhD holders who have been scammed. A businessman called me yesterday. According to him, he was scammed to a tune of about 300,000 Ghana cedis. This is someone with years of industrial expertise in security, in business. He knows the in and out. Yet they were able to get him. All right. So for them, I think they are just innocent. All right. However, that is why we need to get more people educated, so they understand the implications of their actions, especially when it has to do with money.
So you'd want to say that as for fraudsters, they will always be with us. It's up to you, the unsuspecting victim, to, be ahead of them. Basically, that's what, regardless the institution from which it comes from.
Absolutely. As for fraudsters, they would always be there, even though government is doing its best to mitigate, but they would always be there. Just last week, I got a call from a fixed line number reporting to be a call from my bank. And guess what they said, Annie? That they want to merge my Ghana card with my bank account, and
Right.
that I should give them my Ghana card number and my bank details, including my card details. And they spoke, usually these scammers are not very good with speaking. They even write wrong English and all that. But these people spoke so well. On Truecaller, it was the name of my bank. But I have an additional security layer
Wow.
that showed that they were calling from Swedro. Believe it or not, there are some calls, scammers who call, and when you trace, you get to know it's coming from Sawam prisons or even from Kando.
Wow.
Trust me. So they would always be there. That is, we need to be careful. I mean, we
But
need to be
you
careful.
but you're campaigning for regulating the churches too, no?
No, I think we need to be careful. You see, the word regulation, if not well used, can be dangerous. Okay, let's leave it to the to Dr. Lawrence Tete and co. They are the leaders of the Christian community. They are the major stakeholders. So it is up to them to find ways of calling to order some of these so-called men of God. But when make it a state responsibility, it might create some problems, knowing how conservative a society we are and the level of importance people attach to religion. Let's not get overtaken by our emotions and create problems, bigger problems, in an attempt to solve smaller problems.
For the first time, Ade, thank you for your time. We'll get back to you later as we still, go into the issues. Good afternoon, Metro TV. Great work by, my name is Emmanuel Tete, watching live from Ajimanti. Good work done. This is a difficult topic, but we know you can do it. Okay. Oboda from Ashalibotre says that Dr. Tete is only protecting his ministry. They are all the same. They take fiscal money and promise the members spiritual money. He started by saying Agradaa should have passed through some teachings before. Ask him to give a quotation. So, where Saul who converted and become Paul went through teachings. Good afternoon. This one says that, hello, my name is Apia. I think there should be a Christian body that check up on these fake churches. Annie, good afternoon. Do you know that even the devil can give a prophecy that can save a nation? It's a very wrong. Hey, it's very wrong for anybody to put a ban on prophecies. Genevieve from Spentex. I was there yesterday. This woman took my 100 cedis and later sacked me to go home. Your pastor is getting emotional. 99% of the churches should be closed down. You're also saying that. I read a similar message on Facebook. To factories, pastors like them. Okay, I'll read this one. I have lots. For the first time, my producer is asking me if I should open phone lines. Hey, I can't, please, I beg you. Kudos to the Ghana police. Okay, maybe he can take two. Kudos to the Ghana police for stepping in to arrest Anana Agradaa. What's, however, baffling my mind is, why didn't the police find it necessary to pick her up when she was openly displaying the huge sums of money on TV? Where did she get all that money from? We need to be up and doing when it comes to prevention of crime. I agree with you. There is a pastor currently trending on social media. Now people even use him a lot. I don't know his name. I don't think I should even describe him. But he does very strange things in the church where I would expect to see such things at the
Traditional homes.
whatever, where he's using brooms to perform some rituals, and then he'll be sitting down, and then people come and put money, he'll be chanting,
So they
and
say
doing
that
very
is
strange
Aquanture.
things. Aquanture, okay, whatever they call it. Just very strange things. It's only a matter of days where you will hear that this man has duped some people.
You know what?
But this time is that the culture is such that it's easy for people to just come and drop money, and they're running to just go and give them money, plenty. And then he's on social media flaunting his church. And I mean, it's obvious that this is a clear fraudster.
Okay, I think that my wife said something this morning, and we spoke, and what she said made sense. She said, Nene, it's the greed of people that have landed them in this. People want some microwave money. And seriously, she even made a statement that made sense that there's one person that used to carry block on people. And she believed they should increase the block from 2 to 10. God, that is the foolishness of people they want to carry. If you gave yourself this way, you'll be married this way. Why would you have become so greedy? Your greed led you to be duped. And so we shouldn't forget that not long ago, and some of you might have been young then, but in the 70s when we were in secondary school, we had magicians in Ghana, Professor Diago, Professor Issa, Professor Hindu. They stand at Opera Square and Orion Cinema, they cut their neck, they do some konya, and things happen. Today, unfortunately for us, all those kind of lifestyle of people, because of social media and TV, they've all gotten on TV. And so that people will still follow them. But we need to be open-minded, we need to be wise, and we don't need to be what the Bible refers to as foolish. The Bible says, foolish Galatians, who has bewitched you? You started well in the spirit, and now you've ended up in the flesh. If we become as wise as serpent, as the Bible says, most of these things we avoid it. But don't forget that Annie and Elvis, in the olden days, we had false prophets. So if we had false prophets in Bible days, what is the guarantee that we'll not have false prophets
Today.
here? So certainly in the olden days, we would have had false journalists, would have had false doctors, would have had false lawyers. And so certainly it's a community we live in. But I keep saying this thing. Yes, we have one person who has mismanaged and misbehaved. That should not affect everybody. The many out there who are doing good work need to be encouraged. I'm listening to some of your tests and messages, and it's very unfortunate that some of the messages are more insulting to the leadership of the Christian than encouragement. Sometimes we need encouragement. And let me emphasize again, but for religion in Ghana, Ghana would have been doomed. Look at the things that happened during the election between NDC and MPP. It's the Christian bodies, it's the Christian faith, it's the religious bodies, it's a so-called peace council that people don't respect, that bring people together. And don't forget, every politician goes to church or to the mosque. So we, the pastors, have a role to play in their life. We should not condemn Christianity. We should encourage them. And seriously, I believe with what Brother Sani said, if the thing is criminal, send a person. If a pastor rapes somebody, it's police case. It's not church case. If a pastor dupes somebody, it's a police case. It's not a church case. If certainly you double money and it becomes an issue, it's supposed to be a police case. We should divide this thing and we should not put it together. Otherwise, it will not even make the wrongdoers see where they belong.
Someone says that, Annie, please ask Dr. Tete to answer on the sowing of seeds and offerings. Has he done it before, and what's the difference? What we see on TV? Please, I'll let you respond to it after this break. Let's take a breather. We'll be back shortly to wrap up.
Brabaju Jete, our Heavenway Champion Ministry International, Reverend Dr. Mama Pa, sorry ho. Mama Pa, tia 3 billion go say, or the chair, sorry ma, one fan kwa yajuma. Wo to 12 bua se bronsam nyuma, ama wade ho. Na odi sikane kwa yajuma, and say am one fan say if you by 4. Aya
You're welcome back. We're wrapping up a quick one. Reverend, let me come back to you. So, going forward, someone was asking the question, if you've asked people to sow seeds before, how did you do it? And what was the effect? What's the difference?
I think for what we are talking about now, this will not be the subject. It will distract us. So we'll talk about that.
I'm sure this was not even on
we'll
the line
talk
of
about
seed
that.
sowing.
We'll talk about that on the different platform. I have a concern. My concern is that the media houses, the NCA, should be able to regulate a lot of things that rather goes out in the social space. In Great Britain, where I've lived for many years, Ofcom controls everything we publicize. And so if you are showing something, it doesn't matter what your religious background is, and they think it's not acceptable and it's censored, and they realize it's not good for the community, it's not shown at all. A lot of things that we are showing today, and whether it is prophecy or word of knowledge or akwanchire, a lot of things we show today doesn't even edify us. We are killing. In fact, it is rather the media space that must be controlled, because certain things that are published are not church. what you are telling me now about brooms and somebody seated and praying Adoa and things in church, that is not church. And so we should regularize the media space rather, so that if we control what comes out.
But how did you come to that conclusion that that is not church? Because you're the same person that said that, police cannot control prophecies because it really is a spiritual matter. So how will you know that someone's, medium of operating?
No, you just said it. Remember, the book we use to guide us for Christianity is the Bible. And the book we use to guide us for Muslims is the Quran. The book we use to guide us for Hindus is the Bhagavad Gita. Every religious organization has its book. Certainly, if the gentleman is behaving as a Christian, then that is not Christian. And so we should know what is not Christian. And like I said, you don't need to be a spiritualist. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to know what is not godly. Like we are saying now, that somebody doubles money and says, don't fame it. And we know this is not the Bible. In fact, it is not magic. Christianity is not magic. Christianity is a relationship with God. And so we should lead people to what the Bible teaches that for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish but have life. That should be the basis. So anything short of that, we have to make sure.
If today you sometimes listen to critiques, they raise certain issues that you may want to pay attention to. When you have a head pastor of a church, sometimes before you even can see this head pastor, it's a whole, period you need. Sometimes you have to book appointments, you have to do this, you have to do that. Some of these pastors come out flaunting with big vehicles, with luxury. Sometimes when they go into other countries, the way they're received, the kind of treatment they're giving, so some royalty. There's this, grandeur treatment around head pastors. And sometimes people look at them and they feel you are not representing the people who are coming to your churches. So you show to them luxury, which the same people who come to the churches also want to have the same luxury, but they don't get it. They don't know how.
I think, Annie, that is also one area that a lot of people have lost sight of. And I'm happy you are bringing this up. In everything you do, you progress. Christianity is like any other life. Tell me that 10 years from today, you will not be ordinary. In fact, you are sitting and not ordinary. You grow, you mature, you developed. And don't forget that most of us in ministry who started nearly 40 years ago have gone through the stages. In fact, I'm sitting here today and I could have been any director. I could have been a president.
Yeah.
I could have been a vice president. I could have been a minister of state. There are age groups. And so you get blessed, and if you do the right thing, God blesses you. What I am against is the fact that Lawrence Tata is driving a SUV. And so somebody who started yesterday also want to drive a SUV. That's microwave. I've gone through stages. I've written books. I've traveled around the nations of the world. I've got people overseas. There are so many instances that has developed me to this level. So you don't tell somebody who just started yesterday to also drive UC. That is where the cheating and stealing come. But people are developed. Let me give you a typical example. Dr. Mensah Otabe, who owns a university, for crying out loud. Dr. Mensah Otabe has branches around the nations. Dr. Mensah Otabe is an astute lecturer himself. He lectures, he speaks, public speaking. That alone is enough to give him money. I sit here today, and I would be unfair to say that I'm not blessed. I'm blessed. I've written over 40 books. My books are around the globe. And so at the end of the month, even the royalties that come from my books alone should be good enough for me to feed my wife and my children. I don't have to live on church offering.
Right.
And so people miss that aspect. And don't forget that some of us, what we do, we studied. I'm an economist by profession. I lecture economics. I lecture international relations. So it means I have other source of income. If I'm driving a Land Cruiser and somebody gets excited and also want to drive a Land Cruiser, that is what we call foolishness. It means the person is comparing himself to people. If I'm traveling and I travel on the first class, and somebody also who's going to travel on the first class, you've not gone through the meal. What I've gone through for nearly 39 years in ministry, you've not gone through that. Plus, we are all not the same. Annie, and Elvis and I, you should be the first to agree that it's not all the journalists who do. Don't tell me that where Kweku Bakun is, you can be there.
You can't tell me that where Kwesi Pratt is, you can be there. You can't tell me that where Randy Abbey is, you can be there.
You can be there, but it will take you some
It will
time.
take you some time. So if you see Randy Abbey driving a Land Cruiser, and so you think you also sit in that same chair as he sits, you can drive Land Cruiser, you'll be making a big mistake. You go for a wreck. And so that is why in ministry, we shouldn't get carried. I was the first to say that the number of first year in Ghana who even seem to be live in good house, live in certain atmosphere. We've gone through the tests, we've passed through certain stages. What we've gone through, we expect the people behind us to also go through the stage. So we will not cut the coat that is not our size. Let's learn to crawl, walk before we run and fly.
And I think that message will go to Ghanaians as well. Ghanaians are discerning now. Rwanda is a good example. Annie, stop defending them. Jesus doesn't take money. So where are they taking money? Maybe that's what you want to ask. Okay,
so that is where,
as you notice,
let me say this. I'm sorry. You see, and so that is where we lose it. Not everybody take money from the church.
Yeah.
You'll be surprised to know the number of people I'm taking care of. Biologically, I don't have that many children. But there are many who call me their father. They call me daddy, both boys and girls that I'm taking care of. Some of them, I don't even know who their parents are. But when you see people in need genuinely, and you think they should help, we help them. And that is what we should not miss.
Annie, good afternoon. God himself has given us a gift of the Holy Spirit called a gift of discernment, and to expose these false prophets. They are in our churches, and those who have it should be encouraged to use it. I agree with you. It's one of the things that when I pray, I ask for the spirit of discernment. I think everybody should do that. That's if you're a Christian. I'm not going to force you to become Christian, but because on this platform, I'm speaking for everybody. However, you need to wisen up. If you don't want the spirit of discernment, use something else that can help you discern that what is leading you is deceiving you or is leading you to prosperity. Reverend Doctor, thank you for making time with us. My colleague Elvis as well. Also, Adib Sani joined us via phone earlier on in the discussion. But we'll follow up as Metro TV and bring you all the updates as Elvis will be in court 24/7 to
on
give
13th.
us on 13th.
Yeah.
We're
So
back on the 13th.
should be
In court.
It should be in cells since 13th.
He'll be in cells with police till 13th. That's Wednesday. And then come back again and we will listen to whether or not he'll be granted bail.
I guess she's no different from Asha One. Thank you for watching. This has been Good Afternoon, Ghana.